Hello and welcome to our weekly podcast, The 8-Bit Debaters. My name is Rob, and this week we are talking about what was the first video game you remember playing as our icebreaker, and we're also going to be asking what is the best video game with only single player. But we start, as we always do, with the icebreaker.
The icebreaker.
Yes, and as I said, the icebreaker question this week is what was the first video game you remember playing? And this week we're going to start with the lovely Alistair.
Oh, hello.
Alistair, how have you been this week? All right, buddy?
I've been very nice. I've been trying not to die during the heat, but you know what? I'll persevere. I'm stubborn.
I like your green t-shirt. It's a very good shade of green.
It's a very nice green. I like it.
Well
also.
done, well done. Okay,
Cool.
so what was the first video game you remember playing? So we're not necessarily saying what is the first video game you ever played. It's just like what's the first one that comes to mind that
It was
stuck in your memory a bit.
It was tossed up between two because I played them around the same time. I just can't remember what came first. But they're both the Super Mario game, and one was the Super Mario 64 for
Nice.
Nintendo 64, and the other was Super Mario Land for the Game Boy.
Oh, nice.
I can't remember which one I got first. I mean,
Which one did you enjoy more?
Probably 64.
64.
Yeah, it's like
did you play on that more?
I cannot remember. I just remember playing it. I was a very youngin when it came out, so I was like,
He was a young boy.
Never
How
really
old
got
would you
into
have been, Alistair, just out of curiosity?
Ooh.
When I think N64 came out in 97, so...
97. I would have been about 4 or 5.
Ooh,
About
ickle baby,
4 or 5.
Alistair.
I think I got the Nintendo 64 when I was about 5 or 6.
So next we're going to go to the lovely Dylan. Dylan, how you been, buddy? All right?
Yeah, I've been doing all right. Great to be back.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's been a while.
It has been.
So what was the first video game you remember playing?
Mine was also a Super Mario. Mine was for the Super Nintendo, though. I was about 2 when it came out. My parents bought me the Super Nintendo. Well, 2 years old is probably too young to even understand how a game works, but I think it was partly for them, partly for me. But so I grew up. So my first memories of playing games were like Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Street Fighter 2, things like that. Really like the best crop of games you could hope to get started on. But yeah, probably Super Mario World on the SNES.
Super Mario World, that is, I would say, the best of the 2D Marios. Yeah,
Definitely.
by a long way. I love that game. So finally we're going to go to the wonderful bearded Paddy. How are you doing this week, my friend? All right?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Good, thank you.
You seem to have changed location. You seem to be...
Yes,
Are you sitting on the floor?
You're coming straight from the bedroom
Oh,
when nothing at all happens.
Welcome to my boudoir.
Welcome to the boudoir, ladies and gentlemen.
very nice. So for you then, what was the first video game you remember playing?
The first one that really sticks out was FIFA Soccer 98, I think. That was the full title. I was only little on the N64, and I remember the only place I was allowed to play N64 was on a little TV in my parents' bedroom. That's where it was attached, and so it's like this little tiny square kind of old school TV playing FIFA. Especially the indoor.
But what
the
if
indoor
they
thing.
wanted to cuddle?
Well, this was before. This was before my bedtime. I'm sure they could do whatever they want.
It was a distraction, so they could do it behind him while he was playing some football.
Oh, clever.
This is all getting very different. But yeah, that was
It's our theme at the moment.
That was the first one. Really, it really is. And I that was a really special game. I especially loved being able to play indoors. That was fun. Like that kind of the indoor arena was really different, and I'd love to see that back actually.
Yeah, that's when FIFA did something different.
Yeah, they did that for a few years, didn't they? Because it was
bro.
97, 98. I don't think it went into 99, but they did it for a couple of years. But yeah, they should definitely try that again. Although I'm not sure how much indoor football has its relevance now. But although I'd argue how much did it have a relevance in 95, 96, 97. Anyway, we digress. So for me then, the first video game I remember playing was on the Master
Pong.
System.
Was it Pong?
Hoop and stick.
No, it was it was on the Master System, which it was the game that played when you just turned it on, and if you didn't have a cartridge in it, it just used to have a game pre-installed on the console itself, and that was Alex Kidd. I don't know if it's Alex Kidd or Alex the Kid. It's one of the two, but it was a really frustrating game where at the end of each level you had to do rock paper scissors with somebody, and if you lost you had to do it all again. So it was really frustrating because you're just like, because obviously that's just pure chance. There's no skill in that. You just have to hope that you win.
There's always skill on rock, paper, scissors.
They used to frustrate the tits of me. But yeah, that's the first one I remember playing anyway. So that brings us to the end of our icebreaker. Hopefully you get to know us a little bit more. Hopefully. Who knows? Who cares? So next we're going to move on to the main part of the show, which is called the mass debate.
The mass debate.
Yes, this is the mass debate, the part of the show where I like to argue the toss about things that probably aren't that important and probably could argue about more important things in life. But who cares? It's the internet and we can do what the hell we like. So this week we're arguing about what is the best video game with only single player. So we're excluding any game at all that has any form of a multiplayer, whether that's a local or online or whatever. It's a game that can only be played by one person at one time, and that's it. Even things like a Super Mario World, even though you only play one at a time, it still has that 2-player mode where you switch. No, we're not having any of that. Purely a single player. Not here. Not having The Last of Us. That's got an online bit, I think, and yeah, so that's what we're going to argue about. I'm not sure why, just because we're running out of ideas. So we are
episode 16. We're running out of ideas. Oh, good.
That's how we go. So I'm going to start with Alistair. Alistair, do you want to give us a quick 1-minute pitch of what you've chosen and why?
I've gone for an old classic. Skyrim's back again, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, Skyrim's back.
Skyrim's back to be argued about.
I think it's got to be the best single player out there, because I mean, the world itself is diverse. There's so much to do. There's endless quests, and the replayability factor is so high for a single player game. It's probably the best out there. The fact you can choose a different race that has different stats, a different class that has different stats, and then you've got the way you play, your skill tree, what quests you decide to do, what factions you try and line up with, what choices you make during the game. So you can play the game in slightly different ways every single time and have a totally different experience, which I think is what the huge multiplayer games try and do, just having like a huge replayability factor, and Skyrim is nailed it every single time. There's a reason it's on everything.
Yeah. No, it's cool. That's good. A good tight pitch, Al. Not what I expected at all. I expected to have to rein you in.
I've been doing practice.
So second up, we're going to go to Paddy. Paddy, do you want to tell us what game you've chosen and why?
Sure. So imagine Skyrim, but better. I've chosen The Witcher 3.
Ooh, damn!
Pandering. I call
Skyrim. See, we did the debate the other week. Was like, what's the best fantasy game of all time? And I was really hoping we'd get a Skyrim versus The Witcher 3, but now it's going down.
We got it, son. So Rob, I want to paint a picture for you here, Rob.
Okay.
I want this. So this is you can take the present time. This is the world where is the question on everyone's lips is single player dead? That is what everybody keeps going on about, and you've got companies who are coming out and saying that it's not. But I want to picture, imagine little Timmy. Now little Timmy can only buy one game a year, but he can't afford that PS Plus subscription. So mommy buys him The Witcher 3, and that game you can literally play for fucking ever. There's so many things to do, and then after about a year's time, when he's done every single thing and he's gone to every single question mark and he's checked everything off, they can afford the DLC and he can keep playing that. And like it never just even like there's games within that game. They can play Gwent for hundreds of hours if you want to. Like the depth and of the systems of that game is just. And it is a love letter to single player games. Like there's even when you open the box, like there is a message from CD Projekt Red saying, thank you so much for playing our game, this game that we poured all our heart and soul into. Like, and it, Skyrim came out, and then not long after, like, obviously The Witcher comes out, and you're like, oh, so this is where we are with open world like games now. Like these are what the graphics should be like. This is what the gameplay should be like, and no janky mess, none of that nonsense. It was just a beautiful, huge, never-ending, and the perfect antidote to the like online service games that are flooding our plague upon our gaming. Rob, that's the anthem.
That's cool. No, a good pitch. No, fantastic. So finally, we're going to go to Dylan. Dylan, do you want to tell us what you think is the best video game with only a single player?
Yeah, I went with The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which it kind of getting to the point where it feels almost like a cop-out to say Ocarina of Time, because it's like saying the best movie is like Citizen Kane or The Godfather. It's just like a cliche that people say, but I think that pound for pound, I think it is maybe the best single-player game because it's got a little bit of everything. It's got puzzle solving, it's got exploration, and it's got an intriguing story. And unlike The Witcher, unlike Skyrim, it can be completed in, I think, 15 hours, something like that. Less than 20, certainly. I certainly see the positives of having that longer game, but for someone maybe I tried to think of something for someone who maybe had not played or wasn't a big video game player. What would I recommend to them? Something with historical relevance in terms of gaming history that has a little bit of something, a little bit of everything within it, and is important to the biz.
The biz.
No, that's fair dues. It's fair dues. So we've got about 10 minutes or so now to argue it out. We're gonna hash it out and see which of these three games go on top. There's no clear winner here, and as we always do, we try and base our judging on what the arguments put forward in front of us rather than our own choices. Even though I know which of these three I'd probably choose hands off, but I'm going to throw out all of my thoughts about these three games out the window and listen to the arguments that are put forward and see which one fairly comes out on top. So when we end, we're not going to hear a noise because I can't be asked to do that bit anymore. So we're just not going to do that, and it will just end at the point where I said it's over. So we're all grown-ups, and we're all just going to have to learn how to fucking deal with it, all right? So,
I love Rob losing his edge.
With that, guys, fight.
So before we say anything, can we please just acknowledge that the best movie of all time is The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds? Okay,
yeah.
And Sandra Bullock. Thank you very much. Okay, brilliant.
Thank you. I think that's
Thank
fair.
you. I rest my case.
The end. I call the end of the debate.
Go show, guys.
Right, off you go.
Yeah. So actually, the reason that I didn't go for a game, kind of the era of like Ocarina of Time, so a time when games were pretty much just like single player, or co-op was only couch co-op, but like predominantly single player games I felt like kind of obviously like that's where we were. We didn't have the same kind of systems and technology, and gaming was. Games were created for the majority of the time one person to sit there and play their game and enjoy it, and obviously there are some brilliant games there. Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. So like arguing against it hurts, but like now it feels like at this point in time on this generation consoles, like a single player, as somebody who predominantly prefers single player games, or at least I did before I started playing games with this lot, just like. If they feel under threat from games as a service, from like DLC practices, all that kind of bullshit that comes with these online games. And I think The Witcher was this perfect antidote to it. Here's a game that you can literally play forever. I think Rob's played it like 5 or 6 times. You could never stop playing Witcher 3 if you really wanted it, and it's beautiful, like in every single way.
The reason you couldn't stop playing Witcher 3 is because they kept forcing you to do all the side quests.
Everything's an option. Everything's an option now. Everything's an option.
I recently learned that it was quite level gated, like the main storyline. So like
the first areas, I think, that first kind of, they almost break it up into two.
I think it keeps going.
Two different kind of. I don't know. I don't remember ever feeling like, I'll wait to come back here, I guess. But then I'm one of those person who's like who sees a question mark and has to go and do it. And feels obliged to do that. So I guess I know.
You're weird like that. So, but it kind of like, if you want to just, play The Witcher and just try, get through the story, you may not want to expand just yet and like do all the side quests. You really can't until you've done a few of the side quests. So it forces you to play those extra few hours Skyrim to carry on with the story. Super stream. I think it just holds you captive.
Do anything else.
If you want Skyrim, you can just follow the main story.
You can do the same in The Witcher. The Witcher 3.
Well, like, I mean, the Witcher, like, because of the level gate, you've got to be able to do a few of the side quests to then build up the level, because it's not through killing, which, I mean, kind of cuts out a bit of the grind, like the leveling up system. But your levels go through every quest you complete.
I never felt like I was I'm not high enough level to keep playing this now. I need to go and do other stuff. I mean, I think it's the game is so well built and so well designed that you just naturally gravitate to doing other things, and then you're like, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll get on with the main story now. I think.
Oh, like figure out the clunky controls. Oh, I went there.
Your game is Skyrim, dude. Do you really want to get into a clunky control argument?
Skyrim just goes through perfectly onto every console. You want to play it with some nunchucks? You want to play it on an Etch-a-Sketch? You want to play it on a mouse and keyboard and controller?
And every single time it will be slow and janky, and it will crash and it will break.
Talking about slow and janky. You got like your combat mechanic sucks.
I didn't make the game.
You can't admit it. It's awful.
It's
yours.
What I'll say about both Skyrim and Witcher 3, of what I've played of them, a lot of times I didn't know, I couldn't tell if I was doing something if I was doing a mainline story quest or if I was doing a side quest. I had no idea where to begin, where to start, where to go to. I couldn't, like I said, didn't know the difference between a side quest and what was a main quest. Also, I think what's great about Ocarina of Time is anyone of any age can enjoy it. You can enjoy it as an adult and as a child. You're not going to see Link buck-ass naked on a horse.
I'm sure
that's what's wrong with it.
Which I know. Maybe Zelda needs more ass.
That's a question. That's a question for another week. Absolutely.
We'll save that.
Absolutely.
That's another debate. Right. We'll save that. Is there enough ass in Zelda? But no, I think Ocarina is something that I loved as a kid and I love as an adult. As a kid, I would have probably been just too intimidated by the sheer size and just all there was to do of The Witcher 3 that I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd probably run around for a few hours, take it back, and just rent something else. When I was a kid, but I think Ocarina of Time, there's such an environment, whether and it's a lot of things. It's the music, it's the character design, it's whatnot. But it's like it just sucks you in, and you love being a part of that world, no matter what.
I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, just because I played it. I played it again recently, obviously on the channel, youtube.com/twistedbygaming. Plug. And yeah, actually, like something that struck me was I was like, how the hell did I beat this as a kid? Because there are some really obtuse parts in that. Like, not even the water temple, just like doing one thing and then knowing you have to somehow go to like the forest. Like, I was like, how? And they don't give you any markers for that. Like, every now and again, Navi might say something vaguely helpful, but I was like, I either I got like way dumber as I got older, or I had friends who knew what was going on, or what. But that's a struggle. Like, there can be very, very like frustrating actually playing that game, which is, I think. And perhaps a negative. We'll leave that to the judge to decide. But yeah, and like, it is a fantastic game. Like, definitely, and I do love playing it every time I play it. But I really wonder, if you put that into someone's hands now, like somebody who's grown up playing, I don't know, playing games more recently, if it would just feel a little bit kind of empty. It would feel a little bit, I don't know, just a bit kind of not as exciting and as eventful as maybe games like have become. And obviously that's just because of when it was in its time, and I find it really difficult to talk about that game because I don't know how much of it is nostalgia and how much of it is actual, like if you wanted to say, this is the best ever video game that was like only single player, then like for me it's got to be one that really is, it's important because it's single player. Like, this is why it matters, and not just, admittedly a good game that I see through rose-tinted glasses. Okay,
guys, I'm gonna install just a little bit of. I think the way this debate has gone is put it onto a two-sided argument. So I'm gonna make things simpler. The way that I judge things is normally when someone says something about a game, I give it a -1, and then if it's successfully defended, I bring it up back to so it doesn't count. And all I can say at the minute is Dylan's on -2, whereas the other two's on 0. So I'm just gonna ask Dylan to step away from this one, and just out of pure curiosity, because it's really hard to pull apart Skyrim and The Witcher when you've got Ocarina of Time as well, because you've got a really weird argument going on, and I just want to focus it in to between The Witcher 3 and Skyrim. So I'm sorry, Dylan, but I think they've made some great points about Ocarina of Time, which quite hard to argue against, and I haven't really heard much the other way around. So what I'm going to say, if it's all right, Dylan, of these two games, which one would you say was the better game? Have you played them both before we start?
I would say yes. I've played a little bit of both, and I would say I'd skip them both and buy Breath of the Wild.
If I was to force you a gun to the head, even based on the arguments that these two have just put forward here, which one would you say was the winner of the two?
I'm gonna keep.
Nope.
You know what? I'm gonna choose. I would choose The Witcher 3.
Okay, The Witcher 3. Okay, and just to wrap us up, I'm going to give both of you just a final chance to wrap up, and perhaps Al, this will be a chance to highlight those things you've missed. Paddy, what are the key bullet points that make The Witcher 3 a superior game to Skyrim?
I think
what are the bullet points?
Yeah, okay, so Skyrim comes out, everyone thinks it's absolutely incredible, like huge, dense, detailed character, and then The Witcher comes out, and everyone's like, oh shit, this is where single player RPGs are right now. Like this looks better, it plays better, it's smoother, there's more character, the world is more developed, like the NPCs are more developed, there's more to do. Like it kind of almost like, oh my god, like I know they came out in slightly different generations, but still, like it was like okay. And then because then Fallout 4 comes out, like same studio, and it's like The Witcher is still miles ahead of anything Bethesda's done. So that's why for me.
Okay, and Al, the exact same question to you, but the other way around, obviously. Okay, guys, I'm going to call it, and I think that last round decided it for me in the sense of Paddy's point he made. You don't really have a defense about Al's point. I mean, I'm sorry, about Paddy's point about it being a better world with better characters. Whereas Paddy has a fair defense for your main complaint, which is your game has the same problems. So I think just purely on that, I'm gonna have to side with a Paddy on The Witcher 3, but I wanted to explain it because people know I love The Witcher 3 and I didn't want it to come across as biased. I've done it on the arguments and the winner is The Witcher 3. Fair? Don't kill me.
It's very fair, Rob, yes.
Don't kill me. Here's his bag of poo. Okay, guys, yeah, that was a really hard one to judge, and I think putting arguments different ways, it could have gone the other way very easily, but they're too hard. They're for two very similar games that are quite hard to separate, and I look forward to
three games that I absolutely adore. So.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all three brilliant games. So that is it for our weekly podcast. We'll be back again next week, where next week we're going to be arguing about what is the loudest ambulance to come on in the middle of a podcast.
That's me. That's me.
Oh, good.
What did you do?
I know, right?
We're arguing about what is the best video game prequel of all time after a couple of weeks talking about sequels we thought would go down the prequel route. We are Twisted Bud Gaming. We do all sorts of videos and stuff, so check them out. They come out every Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. We also do live streams at 10 p.m. UK time. That happen every Thursday and Saturday night, so be sure to check them out. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and see us all again. But I've been Rob, and that one has been Al. And we've had Paddy. And we've had Dylan as well.
See ya.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.